Alright, hey guys, welcome back to reacting to the Monument Mythos. We're gonna watch season 2, but we're gonna start with the teaser. So I just starts cool. Not for corner girl.
Now let's learn about the sides and
Alex
corners of
Candace.
different shapes. A side or an
I just
edge
moved
is a
look at
line segment that joins two adjacent corners of a shape. A corner or vertex is the point where the two sides connect. Let's look at this triangle.
Oh, I love you.
It has three sides. 1, 2, 3. It also has
Oh, that's
three
bright.
corners. 1, 2, 3.
Bruh. This is called Mazzy Movie Maker.
Members of the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission want to know about the mandatory recall of all personal computers. Personal computers may pose a risk to American lives and infrastructure. Promptly dispose of your computer at a local hazardous tech collection center. Your safety is of the utmost importance to us.
Now this delegation pays him this ovation and rises to its feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Contact now.
like... Oh my god. Goodness damn. Alright. This is part 1, by the way. This is part 2 of the series. This is part 1 of season 2. Exploring under a maze factory. Property of the maze. Oh, cool! Now we can actually see this. Oh my god. Beware the monuments. They are all connected. The military industrial complex grows at your feet. Let's go. The airfield changed too. Oh, electric shock! I can't see anything. What the? Besides, they have not been fed in years. March.
We're leaving now.
Be good. We will.
Oh, this big movie too. I remember this. It's coming out. So it's kind of in March 21. Oh, this one's 16 minutes long. So we're gonna get tons of information. Oh, something blew up, I think. Where did the epic even go? The ship disappeared according to the officials. It got up here and left. Why is everyone confused? Man, the ship that struck in Brazil, it just disappeared. Oh, this one's, by the way, called Suez Canal Crab. The Americans just released a monster. So see for the attack of the crab monsters.
Tell me what you think about the tower. It's the first thing. What do you think about the tower? I thought it was a really good tower. It was very interesting to go up it, and it gave you a really good sense of how busy Cairo is. So I really enjoyed it.
That was terrific. It was really great to get kind of a sense of the scale of the city. It's kind of difficult to do that when you're walking around down on the street. It's a breathtaking view, and it really gives you a terrific perspective of the whole city. And I loved it up there. I spent a couple of hours up on the tower.
Due to evacuations around the Suez Canal, millions traveled to Cairo in search of housing. In response to this migration, many building capacity limits for popular attractions were inflated. The Cairo Tower, one of the tallest buildings in Egypt, had its own recommended capacity limit increased from 700 persons to 1,000. On the evening of April 16th, 2021, upwards of 1,200 visitors toured the Cairo Tower at once. Although concerns of overcrowding had been raised by several staff members, the building manager dismissed their comments. Since the Suez Canal Crab would be passing by later in the evening, he also encouraged visitors to enter the upper levels of the tower, as that would provide a better vantage point. At 8 p.m., the Suez Canal Crab was observed to have turned toward the Cairo Tower and proceeded to approach. Despite an alert sent out by the Egyptian government for civilians to immediately vacate structures in the crab's path, most visitors ignored the warning and stayed on the upper levels of the Cairo Tower as it came near. At 8:15 p.m., the Suez Canal Crab was seen to have stumbled, and in an attempt to regain its balance, crashed into one side of the Cairo Tower, killing over 200 people. The resulting tremors that traversed the building damaged its staircases and elevator systems beyond repair. The cascade of shipping containers from the Ever Given, knocked forward by the momentum of the initial stumble, lasted for over 2 minutes, as an estimated 800 containers broke from their locks and pushed forward an additional 1,000 containers. As all 1,800 containers tumbled down through the building, the structural integrity of the Cairo Tower rapidly diminished. Falling debris and containers are reported to have killed over 800 visitors. At 8:19 p.m., the Cairo Tower fully collapsed, dragging the immobilized Suez Canal crab into the ground. In total, only 39 of the 1,189 visitors of the Cairo Tower survived. 2 of the 15 staff members escaped to safety, including the building manager. None of the 6 security guards survived. Although paramedics and police officers had arrived shortly before the Cairo Tower's collapse, the visibly unstable tower prompted them to collect survivors on the ground and retreat to a safe distance. At 8:41 p.m., a hazardous waste collection team and soldiers of the Egyptian ground forces arrived to contain survivors within mobile quarantine chambers. Due to fears of a potential contagion contracted from the Suez Canal crab, all civilians in the vicinity were placed in quarantine under the authority of Egypt's military in collaboration with the Ministry of Health. Upon impact with the ground, the Suez Canal crab and the Ever Given separated. The large wounds caused by the separation discharged thousands of gallons of seawater and bodily fluids. The hazardous waste collection team and soldiers attempted to plug the gushing lesions. However, survivors report that their efforts were mostly futile due to the team's inability to stay standing on the slippery ground. With the number of accidental falls among the troops on the increasingly wet ground, the Egyptian army diverted its focus from closing wounds on the Suez Canal crab to evacuation efforts. By midnight, the civilian population within a 3-mile radius of the fallen Cairo Tower had been completely evacuated. On the morning of April 17th, Egyptian authorities publicly announced that the Suez Canal crab had fallen in Cairo and laid in a vegetative state. Although the Cairo exclusion zone was primarily intended to prevent any media coverage of the crab and the surrounding destruction, several journalists managed to record footage of the site through the assistance of private helicopter pilots. By 8 a.m., clips of the crab were trending on Twitter. Members of the Anti-Device Association attributed the severity of the disaster to the development of intelligent devices, specifically Twitter machines. They reasoned that due to the popularity of Twitter in America, the Ever Given was overstocked with T-machines, which weighed the ship down and consequently caused the initial obstruction of the Suez Canal. On Twitter, the ADA released a vicious string of messages criticizing Twitter, Hillary Clinton, and Egypt. Along with images of the Suez Canal crab, photos of scattered goods that had fallen out of the shipping containers became a popular topic of discussion. One image of a sports car resting on top of debris would be retweeted by the ADA with the caption, "The Cairo exclusion zone is a conspiracy to keep goods in Egypt. The American people have been robbed." The tweet was shared by over 10 million users. Taking notice, the ADA followed up with tweets suggesting that an Egyptian soldier had driven home the sports car in the image and that the goods needed to be rescued by their rightful owners. The ADA deemed April 19th as Finders Keepers Day and urged all Americans to travel to Egypt to obtain the goods left by the fallen Suez Canal crab. Overnight, an estimated 12,000 flights to Cairo were booked by American citizens. Although a few trespassers had been apprehended in the Cairo exclusion zone, officials did not foresee any further disruptions at the site. Medical personnel attended to survivors in the quarantine chambers. Soldiers cleared rubble and attempted to control the spread of the Suez Canal crab's bodily fluids. By 5 a.m. on April 19th, approximately 20 million gallons had been contained through aerial drops of sawdust and an extensive effort to mop the premises. Although several officials discussed a plan to lay down military-grade mats to enable the hazardous material collection team to walk up to the crab for closer analysis, it was ultimately decided that no further action would be taken until the following evening, as it was believed that the midday sun would evaporate most of the fluid. At 12 p.m., over 12,000 Americans gathered in front of the gated entrance of the Cairo exclusion zone. 4,000 Egyptian police officers and soldiers stood behind the perimeter to guard the exclusion zone from trespassers. At 12:03 p.m., violence erupted when an American shot a police officer in the face. Consequently, tear gas was used on the raging mob. Tanks and heat rays arrived shortly afterwards to deter any trespassers. However, by 12:10 p.m., the front entrance gates of the Cairo exclusion zone collapsed from the force of the charging crowd. Informed of the approaching Americans, medical personnel and survivors at the epicenter began to vacate the premises. By 12:43 p.m., the first Americans were seen by officials at the epicenter. Although the wet ground was expected to significantly slow their approach, several citizens had arrived earlier than anticipated since they had utilized car hubcaps to slide quickly across the ground. With no law enforcement at the scene, the American citizens began to collect fallen goods and pry open shipping containers. Popular goods included furniture, firearms, processed food, tea machines, bars of gold, automobiles, and designer clothing. As Americans continued to arrive at the epicenter, more injuries from accidental falls were observed. Concussions and broken arms were the most common injuries during the initial break-in. At 1 p.m., several fights broke out over a Ford pickup truck that had rolled out from a container and crushed a family. 3 aggressors were shot by a man who had found a rifle. The conflict fueled an unpleasant atmosphere, with more instances of gun violence as time went on. One notable incident saw the discovery of a container of firearms by a group of young children. The accidental firing of an automatic weapon by one child prompted the intervention of their parents and other adults. The resulting verbal argument escalated quickly and broke out into a full-scale gunfight with over 14 armed subjects, including the children. Another fight erupted after the discovery of a deluxe barbecue grill, which 13 Americans had simultaneously called dibs on when the item was pulled out of a shipping container. All 13 Americans died from gun-related wounds. When the last wave of the 12,000 Americans had entered the epicenter, overcrowding ensured that the accidental fall of one individual would trigger a continuous series of additional falls. Without any open space for the midday sunlight to reach the wet ground, the bodily fluid had no time to evaporate, and the number of falls steadily increased. At around 1:30 p.m., one of the posterior legs of the Suez Canal crab twitched and incited panic in a nearby crowd. As Americans attempted to flee, many fell on the slippery ground and were trampled by those rushing behind them. By 1:33 p.m., the screams of the panicked crowd had reached a deafening volume, reportedly being heard over 5 miles away. Due to the reinforcement of the Cairo exclusion zone's gates and orders from the Ministry of Health to prevent any American citizen from leaving the exclusion zone, the massive crowds were kept inside the 3-mile radius of the epicenter, held in place by an orderly line of tanks that flanked the entirety of the zone's perimeter. The gates stood for over 6 hours as Americans ran from the epicenter. Many soldiers became ill at the sight of injuries caused by the thousands of bodies being crushed into the metal bars. By 7:15 p.m., everyone within a half-mile of the gate had perished from extreme pressure. Heat exhaustion, accidental falls, and gun violence were also major causes of death. The Cairo exclusion zone gates were opened at 8 p.m. Soldiers searched for the remaining survivors. Of the over 12,000 Americans who had arrived, only 944 survived. 77 of the American survivors were found kneeling around the Suez Canal crab and claimed to have been promised from a deity that they would survive if they prayed to the crab. However, none of them could account for the remains of dead worshippers that littered the ground around them. They would later establish the Church of the Ever Given during their stay at a local hospital. Howard Melrose, an American journalist permitted to visit the Cairo exclusion zone the day after the stampede, said of the site, "It looked like something from a medieval painting. All of their bodies were jammed into each other. Everyone became one."
That was it. That was a little long.
absolutely incredible.
So good.
I just love the dancing. It was so fun to watch.
It's just got loads of sparkle. I think it's timeless and it appeals to every generation.
I couldn't recommend it highly enough.
It's for
Alright, this
everybody.
next one is called
Fantastic.
Dean Disaster, which is like 14 minutes.
During a broadcast of ABC Evening News, anchor Frank Reynolds told viewers to be prepared for tomorrow and that they would witness the start of a glorious adventure.
Yeah, the glorious
Word
adventure of
spread
Roblox
quickly
is
throughout the
the classic
country,
event.
and civilians invited friends and family to their homes in anticipation of the next day. Although no details of this glorious adventure were known, it was widely presumed to be another exciting TV announcement from President James Dean. Watching parties were organized in living rooms across America, and on the evening of May 13, 1969, after the ABC Evening News ended, televisions were closely watched with millions of unblinking eyes. No one wanted to miss what President Dean had to say.
Oh, yo, no.
James Dean's America is hell. But you still don't believe us. You'll hear the truth from James Dean himself.
Immediately following the broadcast, air raid sirens activated across all 50 states. The sirens blared at a far greater volume than usual and burst the eardrums of every civilian within a 4-mile radius. The resulting panic triggered severe overcrowding at bomb shelters and deadly stampedes in the streets. Thousands were trampled and hospitals were overwhelmed within the hour. Fires broke out in all major cities, and cars left running in the streets produced lethal amounts of carbon monoxide, which flowed into poorly ventilated bomb shelters and suburban homes. In Washington, D.C., the White House was placed into lockdown immediately after the TV hijacking, and President Dean was rushed to a maximum security underground bunker. Able to hear the anguished screams of civilians in the streets above, Dean refused to stay in the shelter. When carbon monoxide alarms went off in the bunker, he urged his staff to exit the White House with him and shut off the vehicles left on the roadways. With a phone call, Dean mobilized the National Guard to assist with the deactivation of the millions of parked vehicles across America. Several more phone calls to high-ranking military officials and world leaders revealed that no nuclear missiles had in fact been launched. President Dean soon realized that the air raid sirens had been hijacked by a domestic organization and immediately ordered all forces of the military to disable every active siren in the nation. When military technicians arrived at the location of the sirens, they found that the bodies of prior technicians, who had perished from the combination of stress and the siren's sheer volume, piled so high as to have formed a ramp to the top of the speakers. The overcrowding of streets by civilians and unaccompanied cars frequently blocked the path of emergency vehicles and prolonged the process of disarming the sirens. Against his advisors' wishes, President Dean tasked himself with the deactivation of an air siren near the White House. Although he would accomplish the task fairly quickly, Dean sustained permanent ear damage and was rendered fully deaf. The sheer volume had also caused countless blood vessels in his body to burst and produce several abdominal hernias. His condition was shared among the millions of other Americans who had been near the sirens at the time of their activation. 3 hours would pass before all air raid sirens would be fully disabled. The next morning, at the advice of federal authorities, civilians slowly made their way from the shelters back to their homes. Although some continued to stay in the shelters for fear of radioactive fallout, most accepted the explanation given by military officials over the radio. There is no nuclear holocaust. A domestic terrorist organization hijacked the sirens of America. The streets were littered with bodies and automobiles. The National Guard handed out blindfolds to the young, sick, and elderly as they exited the shelters to prevent the scenes of bloodshed from causing fainting spells and heart attacks. At the Walt Disney Medical Center, physicians examined President Dean and other members of his staff who helped disarm the sirens. All were diagnosed with severe hearing loss. Against his doctor's advice, Dean insisted on issuing a public statement on the traumatic events that had transpired. Although he initially wanted to appear on live television, a glance at the mirror discouraged him, as he saw the countless bruises and tears present on his skin due to the intensity of the sirens. In coordination with technicians from the Department of Defense, President Dean instead organized a large-scale radio broadcast utilizing the very air raid sirens they had disabled. Later that night, a bruised Frank Reynolds would announce on ABC Evening News that Dean would speak through the sirens and that captions would be displayed simultaneously on television for viewers who were hard of hearing.
Oh, this is the music from season 1.
It's Jimmy speaking. I'm sorry, very sorry for what's come to pass. I wish I could bring back your friends, your family. I want to fix everything. This is not the announcement I planned for, but as you know, there are people who have it in for us. The Anti-Dean Association. They hijack our systems. They hurt people. The Anti-Dean Association is an anti-American association. I want you to keep an eye out for them. They will not be hard to find because they are very proud of their silly ideas. Find them and bring them to your local authorities. We'll make things right. We have places for people like them. This is Jimmy signing off.
It sounds similar to season 1 though.
Over the next week, hundreds of thousands of anti-Deaners would be apprehended and sent to correctional facilities around the United States. These facilities, meant for the anti-American, were aptly located near or at national monuments in order to symbolize a return to American virtues. Most would stay for merely a few weeks before being released again. Friends and family of rehabilitated anti-Deaners frequently claimed that they would have improved personalities, no recollection of their past criminal activities, and even slightly altered physical appearances. These methods were so effective in calming the terrorists that many innocent civilians requested themselves to be sent to these facilities in hopes of radically changing their lives. However, federal authorities would deny any admission to those who were not affiliated with the ADA. During one address, President Dean acknowledged the high volume of requests from the public.
The new Google Pixel 8a. Delightful, powerful, and full of AI.
A lot of you want to be sent to the same places we're sending those anti-Deaners to. I get it. Those who come out of these places, they look clean as a whistle. But if we send you to those places too, then those correctional facilities lose their purpose. If we send everyone to is a prison anymore. This is Jimmy signing off.
On the morning of May 22nd, 9 days after the disaster, President Dean received a state-of-the-art hearing implant from Maze Machines, an up-and-coming tech company. Around noon at the Walt Disney Medical Center, the device was surgically inserted into Dean. The sound quality of the implant and the speedy nature of the surgery inspired Dean to imagine a new government department, which would be able to oversee the mass production and distribution of quality hearing implants to the American public. That evening, President Dean requested an emergency session of Congress and proposed the ambitious project.
I can't hear a damn thing. Did you hear me? I can't hear a damn thing. Neither can you, or you, or you, or you. It doesn't matter whether you were near the sirens or not. None of you are listening. We need to bring together those technology companies to build and send hearing devices that the public needs. Hearing devices that you yourself need. And through a collaboration with the Department of Health, we can give back to the people what our failures took away. We can let a mother hear her child laugh again, and let a man hear his dog again. We can give everyone their hearing again. And who's stopping you? Listen to the public. You're all about deadlines too. So here's one. By July 4th, I want every American to hear the fireworks.
Due to a malfunction in his auditory implants, Dean was unable to hear himself and as a result spoke much louder on the Senate floor than on previous occasions. The volume of his speech, which greatly amplified his compassion for the American people, profoundly affected the senators. And in the early hours of May 23, 1969, after 10 hours of discussion, the Department of Technology was approved. It was the fastest an executive department had ever been established. By May 27th, all persons with hearing loss attributed to the anti-Dean disaster would be eligible for the surgical implantation of a hearing device free of charge. Mass operating rooms would be established throughout the U.S., able to house over 1,000 patients at once. The use of surgical androids was approved on June 6, which increased the number of surgeries performed per day over 250%. Once all victims had been treated, those with deafness unrelated to the disaster also became eligible for the surgery. On July 4th, it was announced that there was no incidence of severe hearing loss in the country. The United States was the first nation in the world to eradicate deafness. The achievement had been expected for some time since its first mention during Dean's congressional address. In preparation, many health organizations, both domestic and international, had prepared to host banquets for Dean and grant awards to him and his staff. However, President Dean spent the entirety of Independence Day racing cars with close friend Richard Nixon at a local speedway. Though many would cite the recovery from the anti-Dean disaster as James Dean's finest hour, the president was never willing to accept responsibility.
All we did was fix some ears.
That was it. Dean disaster. A lot of information right there. Well, James Dean was by Leave Again. Music by Andrew Wilson. And this was made in different times. And this was made in June 2021. Next one is
With Virgin Media's M125 broadband, go fast. Go lightning fast with our reliable network. Just £26 a month with no setup fee. So why go fast when you can go lightning fast? Virgin Media. See what you can do.
Bro, I forgot to skip. Please tell me I can skip. Scary Sphinx. 8 minutes long. Surprisingly, nearly every single video is like 10 or 20 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes long. But it's not really that long.
Egypt was entirely against excavation. They had every right to be upset when we went ahead with it anyway. They said that their system worked for thousands of years and continued to protect the country. They're right. At the time, the president and our military did not care. They viewed their solution as a problem and just in need of a better solution. American solution. Which in this case was excavation. Once the pyramids were classified as CFMDs by the U.S., the excavation was inevitable. CFMDs have been acknowledged by the UN Security Council as the single most dangerous threat to humanity. Of course, this was before climate change and mankind was classified as CFMDs under the new administration. At the time, it meant that the pyramids required immediate action. The ancient pharaohs personally appointed workers toward guarding it, with some years of their lives striking the trees. They were equipped with the finest music glass blades, which would substitute the inherent muscle fatigue and induce insomnia, so they would be able to hit the trees for several nights in a row. The goal was not to cut down any of the trees, of course. That wouldn't be possible until 1945. Rather, the intention was to shift the tree's focus from upward growth to internal repairs. The ancient Egyptians knew that they could not permanently halt trees' germination, but by prolonging their growth, the Egyptians bought themselves time to build enormous towers that would better contain the trees.
What is going on?
Within the first week of excavation, we found the pyramids extended much deeper into the sand than we had previously thought. The more we dug, the more bricks we had found had already been laid. At the time, we had convinced ourselves that the pyramids had to be single structures, and it would only be a matter of time before we would reach the bottom. By the third week, we realized that we had been wrong the whole time. The pyramids extended down infinitely. You can imagine our reluctance to tell the public that the pyramids were not pyramids at all. They were towers, infinite towers, all three of them, towers which contained enormous species of metaphysical flora. Who knew that the pyramids were
is
Discover electrifying offers and exciting
Okay, this one's
prices.
like
Find
40
thousands
minutes
of
long,
great
14 minutes long again.
Throughout the 19th century, English archaeologists in Egypt encountered stories time and again of mysterious lightning strikes near the Great Pyramids of Giza. It was reported that the lightning would strike only in the presence of certain rare constellations. However, no one outside of the Bedouin tribes knew of which constellations. The secrecy protected the value of Giza glass, a mineral created by the strange lightning striking the desert sand. The glass also served as a form of black market currency for several tribes. For decades, the Bedouins' knowledge eluded British archaeologists. For as long as the constellations remained unknown, the Giza glass that formed was retrieved by the Bedouins long before anyone else arrived. However, in the late 1870s, British Egyptologist Flinders Petrie discovered the constellation which preceded the electrical phenomenon. In 1880, he arranged an expedition to collect samples of Giza glass for the British Museum. Petrie accurately predicted the appearance of Giza glass, and with the help of British troops, secured the location of the glass for themselves. The glass, which formed in long, multi-layered sheets, was fractured in order to be more easily transported. While collecting fragments, Petrie slipped and landed on an upright plane of Giza glass. The force of the fall, combined with the sharpness of the material, decapitated Petrie immediately. While British troops at the scene quickly assumed Petrie had been killed, a closer inspection revealed that he was still alive. Although his head was separated from his body, Petrie remained conscious and could even mouth rudimentary words. Medical personnel were initially relieved Petrie had somehow survived, but they became concerned when his head began to discolor and swell significantly. But the fate of Flinders Petrie is a tale for another day. Petrie's lot, as his collection of Giza glass came to be known, arrived in England in 1891. Unfortunately, due to the poor handling of its containers during transit, the glass arrived broken into thin shards and was deemed worthless by museum curators. Yet, as a token of international diplomacy, the British Museum divided Petrie's lot among visiting American ambassadors. Vaguely aware of Giza glass's odd properties, President John D. Rockefeller ordered the immediate confiscation of the material from the American ambassadors. Although many in his administration were eager to see the glass be used in warfare, President Rockefeller refused to authorize military use and instead discussed other possible applications with the head of the Department of the Interior. After numerous conferences, it was settled that segments of Giza glass would be polished into fine blades and given to a select group of Greco-Egyptian swordsmen. These unusually tall swordsmen were assigned to the Grand Canyon and guarded restricted areas from trespassers. Protected under federal law, the Grand Canyon Guardians continued to serve for decades until the last member was discontinued. All trespassers who were maimed by the Guardians were promised a lifetime's worth of a special concoction which controlled unwanted side effects. However, since the medication's efficacy decreased over time, older victims were promised housing within the Grand Canyon to guarantee their safety and privacy from the outside world, but only under the condition that they would lure known dangerous persons wanted by the federal government to the forbidden zones of the national park.
Thomas odiava l'America. È andato a Roma quando era un 21enne e ci è rimasto per il resto della sua vita. Era divertito dal fatto che la proprietà degli schiavi americani lo volesse per creare una statua chiamata Libertà. All'inizio Thomas non voleva aiutarli, ma poi realizzò che la statua poteva diventare un simbolo per altre persone. Dietro alla statua un berretto della libertà, qualcosa che gli schiavi romani liberati indossavano. Penso che se una statua alta 6 metri di una donna liberata ci ergesse sulla cupola del Campidoglio, alcuni uomini sarebbero stati meno ignoranti. Puoi immaginare quanto deluso fosse quando il signor Davis a Washington gli disse di togliere il cappello dalla libertà. Ma Thomas vedette il suo progetto andare a buon fine. Andò persino in Egitto per trovare il materiale per la sua spada. È un vetro molto particolare, vetro di Giza. Una volta, mentre stava affinando il vetro nella sua officina, si tagliò accidentalmente la punta di un dito. Nonostante fossi preoccupata quando me lo disse, lui non riusciva a smettere di ridere. Mi disse che il vetro era così tagliente che la punta del suo dito si affettò senza dolore né sangue. Però poteva comunque sentirla. Quando Thomas si concentrava, poteva addirittura farla contrarre sul tavolo. Lo trovava divertente. Io no. Ricordo che una sera tornò a casa senza una mano. Diceva che poteva comunque muoverla all'officina. Era così giovane quando se ne andò. Aveva solo 43 anni. Mi sarebbe piaciuto passare più tempo assieme. Ci amavamo davvero tanto. Puoi immaginare la mia sorpresa quando guardai il modello di gesto della bocca. Grazie a Dio che l'ispettore Zaffino era nel torto. Mi fece pensare che c'era un serial killer in città, ma nessuno l'aveva ucciso. Thomas aveva tagliato il suo stesso corpo e si era inserito nella libertà. L'ho visto, ogni parte di lui. Sapevo cosa fosse successo, ma vedere i suoi occhi sulla statua era troppo per me. Lei sembrava viva. Zaffino disse agli americani che Thomas fosse morto. Credo che lui abbia trovato la verità da allora. La polizia di Gibilterra pensava che sarei stata devastata dal sentire che avessero trovato la pelle di Nina nella grotta.
Let me just see what you're
Ma
watching
ero
there.
sollevata. Poi è ancora viva.
Is it about killings?
Thomas deve averla
What is it about then?
dentro la libertà.
Well, ultimately,
Thomas
the
e
best way
Nina
there might be
stanno
horses and
proteggendo
some
l'America.
animals.
Insieme.
Can I just see it for once? Oh.
Saying switch one of them off.
Get a 1-month free trial of Sky and Netflix at sky.com.
It is time to show the world precisely what we are worth.
An hour of television can change everything.
No dish, next day delivery, cancel anytime. Start your 1-month free trial at sky.com.
Which one are you switching off?
I'm gonna switch on these.
Okay.
A CRM shouldn't weigh your budget down. It should lift your teams up. A CRM shouldn't hide fees. It should save you money. A CRM shouldn't slam you with add-ons. It should work with the tools you need. A CRM shouldn't leave you in the dark. It should deliver insights clear as day. Get started for free.
Freedom has a new home. Following the ADA storming of the Capitol on January 6th, numerous organizations expressed interest in purchasing the Statue of Freedom. The statue, which fell during the riot and caused over 150 casualties, was seen by reactionary politicians as a result of poor craftsmanship, and blamed her original installer, Philip Reed, for her collapse. Reed, an experienced architect and enslaved man at the time of Freedom's assembly, this has become the latest in a series of historical figures demonized by the ADA. Due to growing reluctance to reinstall the Statue of Freedom, the Department of the Interior has instead transferred Freedom to an undisclosed location in the Grand Canyon and rejected all other offers to purchase her. When asked why the statue had been sent to the Grand Canyon, President Dean replied, "The rocks won't shoot her down."
Saying switch one of them off now. Saying.
Oh my gosh!
No, no, not now. I'm leaving now. I won't bother you.
That's why I know it's not fake.
Nani,
There's
man?
harm in there.
Nani, man! You're just ruining it!
What am I ruining?
I'm still recording!
Oh, you recorded. Still not age appropriate.
Nani! I need to continue this part too, or else I'll literally put it on hold. Here's a Gordium. Fallen Father, only 3 minutes, thank goodness. Oh no, here we go again. From milk. Hey, don't repeat that like a million times.
Go on then. How long do you think it'll be?
20 minutes.
15 maximum.
20. Might be a reference to Canyon Crown. Is that the people? Fallen Father. Filmed by. Oh, music by. Oh. Alright. Oh.
At Amazon, you'll find
Oh, great. Amazon. And we can't skip
Find
the ad.
thousands of great daily deals on Amazon.
Want the power of 5 serum benefits?
So the next one seems to be
serum
Rockefeller Revelation. Oh, this might be a reference to Rockefeller Tree Tragedy. More Doctor Disturbing. The Rockefeller Tapes. Part 7. Wait, Part 7?
I remember seeing the first German airship in its hangar. I was astounded by its immensity until I
Oh,
saw
this
my
was only
own
15
name
minutes.
printed on its side. At that moment, an entirely new feeling unveiled within me. It was an emotion which frequented me in childhood, a blend of revulsion and satisfaction that had followed the execution of a cruel jest on a friend or a stranger. A pin in one's foot, a tumble down a stairwell. What would others think? I thought to myself, at the sight of a foreign airship bearing the name of the American president, dropping explosives upon cities of unarmed civilians. I wish to say that revulsion was my sole reaction to this invention, yet I cannot deny that I was proud of this magnificent vehicle. It was perhaps the greatest war machine ever developed by mankind, made possible by yours truly.
Is this actually just a speech from
By nightfall,
Rockefeller?
shame outweighed pride, and I requested the
So what happened
immediate
to Vigilante
removal
and
of my
Wonderland?
name from the airship and all its future successors. Although the Germans complied, they continued to refer to their airships as Rockefellers. I knew that removing my name would not obscure the facts for very long.
Oh, your name is
It was
Rockefeller.
inevitable that the American public would one day become aware of my secret dealings in Germany.
Alright. This is Rockefeller 70. Nose, body, tail. Elevator, router. Salvage car. Envelope. Gonna go alarms. Control car. Interior. What's in there? Oh. Wait, what was exactly was in there? I guess nothing. Back to Rockefeller.
It had always been my intention to reinvigorate the American economy.
Speaks for 1 minute
Once
and...
I had been debriefed of the situation
Dang,
in the
these
Grand
ones...
Canyon, the overpopulation of crowns, I realized that I was also hearing the beginnings of a solution to the impending economic collapse. That solution being slavery. I can imagine your reluctance to read on, and I entirely understand. Rest assured, I believe that all citizens should be unconditionally promised the very freedoms that our country established at its founding: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Oh yeah, liberty.
However, crowns are not men
This might be a
or
reference.
women,
This might
nor
be a
are they
reference
animals.
to
They are
Rockefeller
merely
tree
the
tragedy.
decayed shells of ignoble
I think the
criminals.
aftermath or
They do
the
not
foremath.
qualify for the same freedoms exercised by ordinary civilians. Once they were conditioned and bound together, the crowns became the perfect workforce. They did not rebel, for they could not speak. They could not leave, for they were chained. And best of all, the crowns were incapable of forming unions.
Huh? Huh? Are you okay? Yes. The hell?
Period night. Rest easy with new Always Size 6 pads.
Oh,
Most
I have that.
absorbent size yet.
However, this content is brain. This ad is brain rot.
Change your life.
That might be brain rot. Can we skip that ad? Oh no. This might be brain rot. Some of the ads might be brain rot. Anti-airship death ray. Lamp holder, front elevation, rear arms, elevation clamp, positioning handle, lamp adjuster assembly, lens.
Germany was the first nation to inquire about the crowns and their potential applications in warfare. I never mentioned the vast quantities of geyser glass we owned, since I knew that it could provide them with many more crowns at low cost. Instead, after signing several agreements and receiving a tremendous German sum, I provided them with over 100 crowns, along with my best advisors and the brightest engineers. Our time with the Germans gave rise to the greatest military vehicles in history, the Rockefellers. Germany's growing demand for men and crowns to construct more Rockefellers revitalized the American economy.
So the
Very few
Rockefellers.
nations offered to hire as many of our men and women, and none would have paid as graciously as Germans did. It was, by all accounts, the greatest and most sustainable partnership of recent times. I could not have foreseen the destruction those airships would eventually inflict to the very nation that provided them. I thought that their creation would unite Germany and America. I could not have predicted that by 1918, Rockefeller bombing raids would have killed thousands of American and European soldiers. My terms were over before I could take action against the Germans. It was the administration after my own which was tasked with the seemingly impossible mission of destroying the Rockefellers while preserving the reputation of the former president. Although they knew of my dealings in Germany and had every opportunity to expose me, they chose not to, for in their eyes, no good could come of it. However, I knew it was only a matter of time before I would become the laughingstock of my country. As the war drew to a close, I often found myself in a daze, envisioning my assassination on the streets of New York, or, more likely, on the steps of my very own center. However, it would be years before my visions would acquire any plausibility. President Hughes did a fine job of eliminating every Rockefeller while concealing my involvement.
Amazon.
Oh,
Unmissable offers and low prices. 5,000.
everything coming together. And the airship frame and the Great Pyramid. Lucia Rockefeller 70. Oh. What's green?
It is a miracle that only now the news of my involvement in the Great War has become widely known. Thankfully, information on the crowns has continued to stay hidden from the public spotlight. I would much rather have the public believe that Germans were the only persons inside when the airships were shot down and crashed in flames. With the tragedy at the center.
Yep, the tragedy.
And now the airship
That was
scandal,
Rockefeller had
known
two
by many
tragedies.
as the Rockefeller Revelation. I believe that my failures have finally caught up to me. There are men outside the center who had once been my supporters. Now they want me executed. The policemen have kept the crowds at bay, though I believe that my assassination is, like the revelation, inevitable. To be elected the president of a country is the greatest honor a people can bestow. But at the moment, I do wish to be the famous oil tycoon that young Virginia Arnoldson believed I was. Forgive me.
Oh, something like a Rockefeller? Effects of the operation. Stage 1. Disintegration. The man identified the most microscopic parts. What? Stage 2. Elimination. Semi-contents of the sin transfer. It doesn't better to stand under completion. Alright. What's he gonna do? Stage 3, amalgamation. The man fused together to a more stable being. What? Oh. Turns into one man. Alright. So is that like an alternate? Okay, so as one, the men return to a homeland. The men execute a counter-attack. A counter-attack? Oh. Oh, come on, man. On May 23rd, 1937, President Rockefeller entered the bunker underneath the 30 Rockefeller Plaza. He was never seen again. Dang. Investigators found that the door of the bunker has been melted open, possibly the most powerful heat ray ever built. Tuesday, the Rockefeller Foundation considers the president's experience as an abduction. Yeah, it might have gotten abducted. Only 2 photos of the potential suspect were ever released. Oh yeah, we've seen these. We've seen this from the last Rockefeller incident. It's called the Rockefeller tree tragedy. You saw the special tree. That's the special tree, and that's the Christmas tree. And this is the music from Rockefeller tree tragedy. Can you see them? I do not. Yes, Nanny? I do not see them. How about this? Oh, is that? Oh, that might be him. Rockefeller Revelation, and that was it. John Rockefeller was by Lev. August 2021. Alright.
Meet the world's first smart IPL that learns and adapts to your skin.
Alright.
Braun Smart IPL.
If the episode is short, then we can actually watch it. If it isn't, then we might end it here.
Visible results in just 3 weeks.
Now, how long?
One
Oh.
year of smooth skin.
I just realized this next episode like 16 minutes. Okay, so we might not finish it this time. We might continue where we last left off. Oh, Virginia!
Zane, come off the toilet.
Alright, so now obviously what happened to Virginia? Oh no, she's older.
Went wrong with me, and everything switched. Even anyone did not like me, so they left me.
No?
My foster parents didn't like me either, so I was left by an orphanage.
Dang.
Some of my friends were better off, but many were left at the orphanage too. Years became we stepped away until we were 18.
Dang!
We were separated.
Dang.
The military took the boys, and the doctors took the girls. They probably do not remember the tree anymore. Soon. I completely remember. Remember growing up. Everything changed when all roles met. At first, I did not know what was wrong with me. When my eyes
It's like 60 minutes. So there's coming up a little bit of information. Like a little lot.
I was in Wonderland. This is my Wonderland.
Oh, the Wonderland!
And looked up. The trees looked like they ended.
Yes.
Above them, there were upside down trees. And above those, there were upright trees. They were being reflected forever. The pattern repeated for as far as I could see. I looked down, and I thought I was on solid ground. But when I looked more closely, I was sitting on a thin, floating layer of dust.
I'm gonna turn it up a little bit.
It smelled like baby powder. And through the dust, I could see the start of another tree. And below that one, there was another, and another, an infinity of trees.
Infinity?
While I played with the dust, I heard distant footsteps.
Distant
They
footsteps?
grew louder and louder. Then there were bright flashes of light all around me. Out from these lights, hundreds of people ran out. One man came up to me and whispered,
The trees are not the trees.
The trees are not the
She
trees?
had such sad, tired eyes. As he picked
Oh,
me
this is
up
referring
and
back
put me on
to
his shoulders, he
Rockefeller
said,
tree tragedy.
"You could be her.
This is called
Anyone
Washington
could be
Wonderland, by
her.
the way.
I promise I will not leave." There was a bright flash, and we were in another field. He was sitting in front of me with his hands out. Another flash, and we were both running past through the woods. Another flash, and we were both lying on the ground, looking at infinity. Every few seconds there was a flash, and
How
we
many
were
flashes are
doing
there?
something else. Again, and again, and again. Over and over and over. It would not stop. It felt like forever.
Oh, the infinity.
Years of flashes. I was so angry at first. But soon, I had those sad, tired eyes of his too. We were so sad and tired. Every now and then we would flash to another layer of dust. Above or below, who knows? But we would always see the climbers. I think there were people who tried to climb the trees while they were flashed around. They were stretched and burnt. Maybe the dust was the people that fell. The man was always with me. He kept me safe the whole time. It must have been years. It felt like 500 years. I named him Everett.
Oh,
He was
Everett.
always there.
Sounds
He never
familiar.
left me. Everett was my best friend. Then, on one random day, no time, one random time, all the trees went, and a flash brought me back to New York.
Oh.
All my friends were around me, but this was another New York. I did something wrong, and I lost Everett. I ruined everything. I should have stayed home that night. Why did I not stay home? I lost everything. From me and my friends, I ruined their lives. I will not tell you about the orphanage.
Dang.
It was a hard time.
Dang.
I will keep memories of the orphanage to myself. They do not matter to you. When I was 18, I left the orphanage. I looked for my new parents. They were not together anymore. My new pa died from a broken heart.
Dang.
And my new ma lived all by herself. She did not let anyone into her house anymore. All because of me. I wanted my old parents back.
needs to come to bed.
I went to the Rockefeller Center for an answer. The tree stood at the top of the plaza, above everyone else. I was never supposed to visit again, but I did, and I spoke to her. At first, I could not understand her. Her voice was like a breeze behind my eyes.
Okay.
It was cold, and I could not move. But soon, I could understand. She said that I had to be ready to exchange one life for my own. She understood that I wanted to go back home, to my New York. She said, come back in 3 years. And I did. I waited. 1,095 days.
Dang!
I returned 3 years later. At first, I could not understand her. Her voice was like a breeze behind my eyes. It was cold
and I could not
Time
move.
to turn this off now, okay?
But eventually, I could understand.
Good boy, come
She
on.
said that I had to be ready to
Bedtime.
exchange
This was a
one
nice
life
snuggle, wasn't
for
it?
my own.
See, you got to stay a bit
She
longer.
understood that I wanted to go back
Yeah?
home to my New York. She said, come back in 3 years. And I did.
Don't.
I waited 1,095 days. I returned 3 years later. At first, I could not understand her. Her voice was like a breeze behind my eyes. It was cold and I could not move. But eventually, I could understand. She said that I had to be ready to exchange one life for my own. She understood that I wanted to go back home to my New York. She said, come back in 3 years. And I did. I waited 1,095 days. While I waited, I met a man. He was a very important man.
Alright.
A secret agent. He followed me everywhere. One day, I found him waiting inside my house. He told me that he was here to monitor me. No, to watch and protect me. But he had fallen in love with me. No one else liked me.
Little finger
So
in your mouth,
we
okay?
took each other.
Where I'm putting the
We
cream,
grew
don't touch
close.
it. Because you might accidentally
Leonard loved me.
your fingers
I
in your
loved him
mouth and
too.
your eyes. Turn the laptop off,
Together,
please.
we had a baby boy. I named him Everett. Little Everett was inside for 9 months when I saw the teenager.
Turn it off.
He put directions in my head. I followed those directions.
I'm just squirting some cream directly on your foot because it's
had to.
you can't even get anything out.
So badly.
Get anything out?
But I became so happy when I could hear the music. It was like the tree's voice.
Alright, we're gonna end part 2 there. I'm really tired. I don't really know what to say because we haven't finished season 2 yet. So, bye.